That's great. Great family tradition. And it's with Mad Dog, yourself, and all the family members. And then also, as far as wrestling goes, with Luna and then Vivian as well. So the Vachon legacy, it's really, truly a really great legacy for wrestling and life. And you have your Facebook page, and I want to keep mentioning that. So if people listen at different times, Facebook.com/Paul The Butcher Vachon, and that's his official page for this wrestling legend and Hall of Famer. And there's so much stuff there you could see, and it's updated, and you'll have merchandise and announcements and posts from the Butcher himself and his books, which are really cool. They made a documentary from the books, which is also cool, called The Last Villain, and it details the Vachon family, not just the wrestlers, but all the family members as well in the books. And you could see The Last Villain, the movie, which has English subtitles as well. So it's really cool. And Paul, do we have a little more time? Can we spend a little more time with you? Is that okay?
Sure.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. Dear Paul, I'm wondering with this, Luna Vachon, such a big name, and she wrestled all over the world too. And she also lived in South Florida for a while, in Pompano Beach. And I'm wondering, Paul, do you remember, did you ever live in South Florida, or did you ever come visit down to Pompano or that area? Do you recall?
Luna lived in my condo.
Oh, it was your condo?
Yeah, it was mine first.
Oh, I didn't know that. So, Paul, did you spend time living? I know you worked for Championship Wrestling from Florida, and I want to talk about that, of course. But did you live here too, or did you come down here in the winters?
Yeah.
I never knew that, Butcher. What did you like about South Florida? Was it the weather, or just nice, relaxing? Did you like to go to the beach? What did you like to do in South Florida?
Well, I didn't like South Florida too much. Too many French people down there. No, actually, what's not to like, you know. But after a while, for a guy like me, you get fed up with the same thing all the time. You know, you know what? I liked everywhere I went. I love Florida, and I've been everywhere, my friend. And I loved every minute of it, and it has to do with being the middle child of 13 kids, you know. I put up with 6 older and 6 younger than I, and I saw everything that can happen in a family in every country in the world that I went to. I really enjoyed every minute of it, and I learned something from everywhere I've been, all the people I've met. I'm still learning.
Hey, Paul, did you ever meet Pat Patterson?
Pat Patterson? Yeah. Yes, of course.
Because here, why I'm asking that is he loves South Florida. He will come. I don't know if he still does, because a while ago his sister used to live here in Hollywood, and then he would come and visit. And what happens is, this is interesting. Pat loves to sing, and I want to say in the wintertime, down by Hollywood Beach. Well, before COVID, when everything was normal, Paul, he would go down to the beach and sing karaoke, and people wouldn't know who he was. Some people did, but no one would bother him like a celebrity. But he would go down because he loved to sing and would sing karaoke down on the bed. So it was so cool. But he loved it down here, and it's different. I mean, South Florida is so different from Montreal and the Quebec area and all.
Listen to this. Pat Patterson was a friend of mine. And he got the singing part from me.
Oh!
You didn't know about my history. I sang all over the world.
No, tell us. What is this? What is your go-to song? I didn't know this.
There's a record out. It's called... what the hell is the record called now? It's called...
Oh, gosh, I'm trying to find it, too. I'm trying to look online while we're talking just to see if I can find something on it.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
What's the name of my record?
few of my favorite things.
A few of my favorite things is the name of it.
And that, by the way, is Dee, the lovely wife of the Butcher.
Yes.
A
You
few,
want to
so
talk to her?
we get Dee on here to talk about, has she heard the album? She, of course, has heard the album. Yeah, let me ask her about the album. I want to ask Dee about the album.
Okay. He wants to ask you about the
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hey, Dee, yes, all right. I got to ask you about the, okay, so what's the name of the album again?
It's not an album. It's on an old 45.
A 45, so he has a 45. That is so cool. So there's one song on the front, one song on the back, correct?
Yeah, and it's the cover of it is a few of my favorite things. And what's on the other side?
The Butcher. It has to be the Butcher. It has to be something the Butcher on the B side. B for Butcher, the B side.
Yeah, right.
Someone will know what we're talking about with 45s. I remember those days with the A and the B side. So, but
Well,
okay.
the vinyl's coming back. The vinyl's coming back.
It really, the last few years, it has the vinyl, and I still have 45s, and I still have some of the bigger records, the 78s, I believe, but I have the bigger records and the small 45s. But I'm going to ask an honest opinion, Dee. What do you think of the song?
It's great. No, it's great. He made the words up, and he's got a beautiful voice. You just, I don't know where you could go. Maybe on YouTube, is it? I don't know. I don't know where you can find it.
Oh, that would be a great find. That would be a great find. Do you know if Paul and Pat Patterson have ever sang together?
Huh?
Dee, did you hear my question about Paul and Pat Patterson ever singing together?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they did.
Because that's how we got to
I'm
the.
not sure about
we
that,
were
but
Dee.
you can ask.
Yeah, I'll ask Paul. I'll ask Paul because Dee,
But
what?
before his throat cancer and the radiation treatments, he had a beautiful beautiful voice, and he sang all the time. But he in public and things. But he still sings, but he sings to me, and it's still beautiful to me. So what the hell?
Oh, that's great, Dee. Because we were talking about South Florida.
He used to listen to Frank Sinatra when he was a kid, so he picked up his voice. It's incredible.
Crooner.
So big old chunky wrestler could sing like that.
I'm surprised he didn't work it into his wrestling persona, his wrestling shtick. But I guess a singing butcher may not have gone well.
Well, he's got a perfect quick story about that for you.
Oh,
so
good.
I'll give it
All right,
back
let
to
me
you.
talk to him. Thank you so much, Dee.
Okay, anything we can do for you, Jim, just let me know.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. So he's talking about singing. No, tell him about you and Mad Dog at the prison.
That takes too long.
No, make it short.
Make it short. He says make it short. Hey, we've got time if you've got time, Butcher. This is awesome. I'm enjoying this so much. I hope you are. And by the way, the throat cancer, I'm so glad that you were able to take care of that. And that's all in the past and everything as well. So, but tell us the story. Can you tell us the story about singing?
I'm singing the song, and you sing that wayward Canadian song.
Okay, so then this is a story where Mad Dog and I got invited to do a benefit for the prisoners in Collinsville, not too far from Montreal. It's a prison, and we're having a wrestling show. And Mad Dog and I were partners. By that time, I had been promoter for a while, and I weighed over 300 pounds. And of course, when you wrestle in jail, the villains become the good guys.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and the good guys become the villains. So anyway, so they're cheering Mad Dog and I. So anyway, we wrestled, and we tried to make it last as long as possible. And we wrestled for about half an hour. And when you weigh over 300 pounds, you're wrestling for half an hour. And before we get out of here, my dog grabs the mic and he says, before we get out of here, he says, my brother is going to sing a song for you. And he hands me the mic, and the prisoners all got up and he cheered and everything, and here I am with my tongue hanging onto my belt. I'm out of breath, 300 pounds, and I can't sing. So I give him anyway, Mad Dog says, take your time and sing them a song that's appropriate. So I'm going to try it. It's a French song, and even for your English audience, and you, perhaps they'll understand the words. It's a French Canadian old folklore song called Canadien Era. Means a wandering Canadian. And if there's a song appropriate for a guy like me, it might say my national anthem is a Canadien. Canadien, banni de son foyer, parcours les temples des pays étrangers, parcours les temples des pays étrangers. And believe it or not, while I was singing that song, some under convicts that are criminals were crying. They had tears in their eyes. Un jour triste et pensif, assis au bord des flots, un courant fugitif, il adressa ces mots. Si tu vois mon pays merveilleux, va dire à mes amis que je me souviens d'eux. Va dire à mes amis que je me souviens d'eux. You know what? I'm in tears now, believe it or not.
I believe it. That is so awesome. The thing I gotta... That's the butcher. That's the butcher making a powerful statement at a prison where it was really about the wrestling, but the song became therapeutic for everyone, which is so cool. The other thing is, your voice still sounds very good, and I'll end this part, just the music part, with this. Pat Patterson, eat your heart out.
Hey,
Right? The butcher's singing. The butcher is singing.
yeah. Well, you know, when Patterson first started, he used to travel with us all the time. Him and I used to sing together.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Did you...
I always told him we were terrible, but of course it didn't matter and made him want to sing more.
Do you have a favorite Sinatra song?
Oh, I like all Frank Sinatra songs. And you know what? In those days, songs told the story.
It really did. And back in the day, too, those songs did tell stories, and it was just amazing. He had a long singing career, Old Blue Eyes, and I was thinking maybe My Way. My Way may be a good song for the butcher.
You know, the best song of my family was Old Man River.
Oh, wow. What a classic. Very rural, very slow, methodic song, too. Wow.
Paul Robeson.
That is awesome. I love the music is great. And that is an awesome story. So let's talk a little bit. We'll let you get going. I appreciate all the time. This has been so much fun. I want to actually talk about whatever you can remember about championship wrestling from Florida, because you had spent some time down here, tag team and singles. And I believe you worked for Eddie Graham. Did you work for also, I don't know if you worked for Mike later, but I imagine you worked for Eddie when you came down here and were wrestling in the 70s and all. Do you remember the Briscoe brothers, Dusty Rhodes, Gordon Soley, the Dean of Wrestling Announcers? What are your memories of? Yeah, what are your memories?
All those guys you mentioned, I wrestled them. I even wrestled Eddie Graham.
Get out of here. Wow, wow.
Yeah, before he became promoter.
What was that like? Because you had the Graham name family. It wasn't an actual blood family, but you had the Graham wrestlers as well. What did the Vachon? Do you remember if the Vachon brothers wrestled the Grahams in a tag team?
No.
All right, so it was just you.
No, and if we had, I wouldn't remember, but there was, I wrestled Eddie when I went to Tampa. I wrestled him in the middle of the ring in Tampa.
Do you remember anything about any of the other competitors from back in the day? I don't know all the ones that you might have wrestled. Rocky Johnson, maybe?
Rocky Johnson, yeah. Yeah, I wrestled him. Rocky Johnson. I got a picture of his boy sitting on my knee in one of the books. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. That is so cool. Well, that was it.
Yeah. Well, he was only 7 years old, and I was wrestling on the same card. His mother married, you know she married, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway.
Ada Maivia Johnson.
Ada,
Yes.
And she's a friend of mine. And we used to sing together, and they, I've got such a story. I knew, listen to this. I showed up in England from India, and I'm waiting in the front of the wrestling office. They had made a date for me to get there at a certain time. And the wrestling office, they had come to England, they hired me, and they said, we got some other people coming from all over the world. So I'm waiting. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and the office opens at 10. I'm there at 5 to 10. And at 10 o'clock, I see this apparition coming down. I'm dressed in a lumberjack jacket with a tube, like a French-Canadian lumberjack. And I see coming down the road, about maybe a quarter mile away, this guy in a skirt, bare-chested, with a flower in his hair, and flat shoes, barefooted. And I think it's an apparition. I said, what the hell is that coming towards me? And he keeps on coming, and he keeps on coming, and he's coming straight for me. And he gets about 10 feet away, and he says, I'm Peter Maivia, just coming in. I know, he said, from Samoa, just coming in from New Zealand. And I said, well, I'm Paul Vachon, a lumberjack from Quebec, just coming in from India. And we shook hands. And from then on, we were friends. And we used to wrestle 6 nights a week for the next year and a half. And every Sunday we would get together. He would bring his guitar, his wife, and his daughter, Ata, and he would play Hawaiian music on his guitar. He would sing, I would sing, and his daughter would dance the hula.
That is...
She was 12 years old.
That is so cool. And obviously High Chief Peter Maivia, a Hall of Famer himself, and his wife Leah, and they also did a great job in Hawaii, running wrestling in Hawaii. And then
Yes, they did.
yes, and then his daughter, as you said, Ata, what a great woman. What a very nice, gracious, and smart woman.
A wonderful woman. Now listen, she gave me a picture, and I was writing my 3 books, and every year she goes to the Hall of Fame meeting in Las Vegas, and so did I, my wife and I. So one day she says, she brought me a picture. She said, "Do you remember this picture, taking this picture?" And she showed me the picture of this little kid, 7 years old, sitting on my knee. I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's Dwayne." I said, "That's Dwayne?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, that's Rocky's boy." She said, "Yeah." And then right away, years later, I'm still going to the same meeting every year, and she's there. And this is a year after she had given me the picture. I'd written another book, and I put the picture in there, and when I showed it to her, she said, "Oh, wait a minute." And she called The Rock, who was at that time shooting a picture in Hollywood. She says, "Get him on the phone. I want to talk to him." And they got him on the phone. I guess he was right there. And she said, "Look what Paul did with that picture. He put it in this book, for God's sake." And he sort of laughed, and he told his mother, he said, "Tell Paul we got to get together." And that was about 10 years ago. And this is what I was waiting for, the picture to be finished here. And we were all lined up, and I want you to know this. We were all lined up with the producer to go and meet him in Vancouver, because he lives in Vancouver, believe it or not. He lives in Victoria, because he's Canadian. The Rock.
Right, because Rocky was also Canadian. Yes, I remember. I remember talking to Rocky and interviewing him, and that he also was Canadian.
Right.
Yes, a Canadian boxer. Very good boxer, too.
Yeah, right. So anyway, along with Ata and my wife and I, we were going to show him the movie and everything. He's interested in seeing it, and perhaps make a bigger version for the English market, of course, which is the biggest market in the world, right? So anyway, that's a jump on it, and then the corona stopped all that. I mean, that was 4 or 5 months ago. We were fixing to go and meet his mother and all of them together again. But we keep in touch with her, but lately it's been real hard because, they don't want to talk to nobody again.
Well, no, it's hard, right, exactly, with COVID and 19. I mean, all this pandemic and all. But that's interesting, Paul. So there were maybe some talks with him and the company about maybe doing The Last Villain and doing that movie. That's awesome, though. But that's awesome because that's something that still can be done. We got to get through the pandemic. That is really cool.
Yeah.
And what a nice guy. What a nice family. All of them. They're just really just wonderful people. Even Paul, even like becoming a big celebrity and a big superstar, none of that has gone to his head. None of that has made the family different. They're just genuine people.
I knew that. I knew that from his, he's got some of his grandfather in him, for sure. I mean, Peter Maivia was the most open guy in the world. He died early, you know, he had cancer. But, I mean, we wrestled. I brought him with me to Paris from England. From there, you know, I brought him over to Europe, and we wrestled I wrestled him at the Palais des Sports, in Paris. And listen to this, I bring him from England, the French promoter. He says, you know a lot of guys wrestling in England. He says, why don't you get them? So I got all the best guys that were wrestling on top. The heavyweights, Peter was one of them, you know. And I brought him. And anyway, the story's getting away from me now, so I think we've...
No, that's fine. That's fine. The story's not getting away. It's fine. I was gonna jump in, but I want to give you time to talk. Obviously, I don't want to interrupt. But the thing is, that's cool. Is like you're singing, High Chief Peter Maivia's singing, and you're wrestling in Paris. That's cool. And I'm also gonna say this. I now know where The Rock, because he could sing too. He must get it from High Chief Peter Maivia.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
And maybe down the road we could see Paul the Butcher Vachon and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, in a duet.
Well, I don't know about that because you heard my voice. It's practically gone.
Oh, your voice is good. Your voice is good. I'm telling you, overcoming what you've overcome with the throat cancer and all. It's very good. I'm telling you. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. It's just so amazing. I thank you so much for spending the time. Paul the Butcher Vachon, a Lou Thez Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. Awesome. A multi-time Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. The pride of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He's wrestled around the world. It's amazing. 82 years young, in Quebec with wife Dee. How are you guys getting through the pandemic? Everything okay up there?
Well, everything's okay with us. We're in quarantine. And in our own place, of course. And my wife goes out and gets groceries. She puts on a mask on. My wife is a former Marine staff sergeant and never got married before she married me. Never been to the wrestling matches. And she can beat me up anytime. She's 13 years younger than I. Makes me salute every morning. Pay attention, she says, and all that. So that's a story we didn't tell. And now she wrote half of the last book. So you learn lots about her once you read the book.
Wrestling with the Past is the name of that book. There are also When Wrestling Was Real are 3 other books that Paul the Butcher Vachon has wrote about wrestling, about life, about the career. It's really incredible, and you could check those out, information about them, on the new Facebook fan page of Paul the Butcher Vachon, facebook.com/Paul the Butcher Vachon, also at Paul the Butcher Vachon, and it's the official page for wrestling legend and Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame member Paul the Butcher Vachon. Official merchandise, event announcements, book information, the movie The Last Villain, which is a documentary about all the Vachons, Mad Dog, Vivian, Luna. We're all big Luna fans here in South Florida, and then and of course the Butcher himself. So you can check that all out there. It's just a treat and great to be able to talk to you and to be able to do this. And I'll say this, that Paul the Butcher Vachon, what comments do you have about the Destroyer, Dick Bayer?
I know him from way back. He was a great friend of mine. And let me tell you something, I love his family too. But let me tell you the best thing, that nobody knows about him except all the wrestlers. He's the cheapest man in the world.
Hey, I don't know if you'll know this one or not. I know you know the name, but I don't know if you know the history. Is he as cheap as Abdullah the Butcher?
Oh, I know Abdullah the Butcher too, but he's a hell of a lot cleaner than Abdullah the Butcher.
Okay, I'm not gonna go any further with that one, but I'll say this.
Listen, it's been great. Please, let's do it again sometime.
Oh, I'd love to do this again. My gosh, and all, and we'll do this. And thank you so much. And the Butcher, while I let you go, I'll let you end it with talking about your Facebook page, your new Facebook fan page. And did you start this during the pandemic?
Yes.
What made you and Dee and everybody involved decide, hey, let's do a Facebook fan page?
Well, actually, the guys that have been making the movie these past 4 or 5 years, one of them, said, let's start that, and then there's someone in Montreal taking care of it. He's a policeman, believe it or not. I'm not going to say his name because he probably doesn't not want to, but look it up. He's the guy in charge.
That is awesome. It's really cool. And the anonymity is, of course, respected. And Paul, I'm going to end this, but I'm looking at the Facebook page pictures, and I noticed a very cool one of a mug with Paul the Butcher Vachon and one of those derby hats. Do you still have the derby hat? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's around here somewhere.
How cool is that? Are you a derby hat guy? You like derby hats? That's great.
Well, listen, when you got nothing else on your head, you'll wear anything, I got no hair on my head. I shaved my head when I was 18 years old, believe it or not. I've been bald ever since.
I need a derby hat too, Paul.
Yeah.
All right, listen.
My dad, that was a fashion in those days. My dad had a derby hat when he didn't have his policeman's hat. My father was a policeman first and then a detective later and all that. It's all in the books.
All in the book. All in the
I
book.
won't keep you anymore.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. The Butcher.
Bye-bye. Keep in touch.